First and foremost, thank you very much for joining Charles Collectibles and Books. This is one of our first online audiences. So I'm glad to have you.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Just to introduce you to the audience, Dr. Turnera Croom is a veterinarian based out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and she served in the military, and she operates a mobile vet clinic, and she's also the author and illustrator of What Kind of Veterinarian Do You Want to Be? And I'm going to just hold this up briefly for folks. And this is actually available on our website. But I'd like to first start with Dr. Croom telling us about herself.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles, Mr. Young. Great to be here, and I appreciate you having me. So, first of all, I am the author of that book, correct? But I am not the illustrator. The illustrator is a Mr. Charles Reed, R-E-I-D. And on my next version, I will definitely make sure that that is on the front. Yes, sir. So, like Mr. Young said, my name is Dr. Turnera Croom, and I am originally a Grand Rapids, Michigan native. That is where I hail from. That is where I was raised. Now I live in Kalamazoo. I've had an amazing, upbringing by my parents, who are still married after 53 years. So they were a great role model for me. They were both teachers, so the teaching is definitely in my blood. I had the fine opportunity to not only attend one, but two historically Black colleges and universities. That's right, I left Michigan, went down to New Orleans to Xavier University for my undergrad in New Orleans, and then I shifted on over to Alabama to Tuskegee, the greatest veterinary school in the country and the only historically Black college. That is where I really gained my knowledge of veterinary medicine, although I will say the entrepreneurial spirit was already in me. And that's what caused me to write a book and want to do things outside of just the typical veterinary medicine. So.
Outstanding. And across the nation, how many African American veterinarians are there, and how many are there in Michigan?
In Michigan, you know what, I'm not really sure. My guess would be that there would hopefully be at least 50. And then across the country, I'm not sure of that exact stat, but the stat that typically affects me and my Black colleagues the most is the fact that it's about 85% Caucasian female in this industry, in this profession here in the country. So that's the statistic that I know that I really work hard with, through my book as well as my future vet class to eradicate or, reduce. Yeah, it's pretty devastating.
Are there any, is there a trade association that you're associated with?
We do have, like the National Association of Black Federal Veterinarians. I did used to work as a public health veterinarian for the Department of Agriculture. So there is a group there. And there's also the Multicultural Veterinary Medical Association, which is a relatively new organization, and that can be found on Facebook as well, for veterinarians of color. We know that in this field, it can be kind of tenuous working with humans and people, and there's unfortunately a high suicide rate. So groups like the Minority Veterinary Association are really important for us vets to have a place to come, gather, lament sometimes, and then push forward with what we need to do.
I understand. So how has the pandemic impacted your business?
Well, it's impacted my business just like everyone else's, here in Michigan when things were first happening and, governors were, saying what's essential and what's not and who has to shut down and everything. I think I went into, I think when everything first started, Mr. Young, I went into a room upstairs in my house for like 2 weeks straight. And I was like, what is going on? I had a window, I had my water, I had my dog. And I was like, okay, I'm barricaded here. So then I was like, okay, after 2 weeks, I was like, let me pop out of here because things have to keep going. And that's when I really pivoted my business to do more virtual veterinary appointments. My video vet appointments, they were already in place prior to the pandemic,
Excellent.
but this really got it. Like people were like, okay, we can't go anywhere. I guess we better get on this video. Better download Zoom. So that pivoted. And even as things kind of got back to more normalcy, I kept the virtual visits and people love them. I mean, you get 20 minutes of dedicated time with a veterinarian talking about exactly what's going on with your fur baby. And your fur baby is the most important thing in the world, right? Absolutely. So they've been loving it. And then following the virtual visit, they can get a home visit if needed here in Southwest Michigan.
So you are definitely still doing the mobile clinic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Sometimes during the wintertime, we do set up shop, my vet tech and I, and do some walk-in clinics at different places. So we've got a groomer friend here in Kalamazoo who allows us to come in and people can schedule themselves for rabies shots and, heartworm tests and those kinds of things so that every time we don't necessarily go to individual homes. Or for those who, have a lower budget range, they might want just something like a walk-in clinic. So we do try to provide those as well. But yeah, no, the mobile clinic is up and moving. As a matter of fact, one of my goals for 2022 on the financial side of the house is a luxury RV where I can move around the state and meet more of my fellow veterans who have pets and really kind of hear their stories as well as their pet story, of course. So that, I'm looking for sponsorship for that as well from a luxury RV company that wants to sponsor what I'm trying to do.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we definitely have that in common. As you know, I'm a traveling bookstore, and we feature African American books and resources for kids as well as adults of all ages. And we actually had the opportunity to meet at an event this past November in Grand Rapids. And it was amazing meeting you because you brought such freshness, and vibrance to the event.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, events like that, especially ones that are geared towards, our Black youth. I love those. I get right in there and let the kids know and see that you can be a professional, but you can still have fun. You can still, like I had my little heels on and everything. It was dressed in the nines, and you can dress up, you can dress down, you can do whatever you need in the field of veterinary medicine to have fun but still be a professional, help pets, and of course, earn income. So,
Well, I had an opportunity to share your story with a colleague of mine here in the Detroit area, and she's actually going to be reaching out to you because she is a young man that's interested in veterinary science. So we're looking forward to making that connection now for him as well as for you, which actually brings us to your online classes.
that's right, the Future Veterinarian Project. It's been around for a few years, and I used to do it in person. I will say that was great. I got together a group of maybe 10 kids. Their parents would sign them up and then bring them to the various locations. We would meet at pet supply stores and vet offices, and I would take them around and teach them the ins and outs of veterinary medicine in person. Being inside of a pet supply store, there's something on every aisle that relates to veterinary medicine, whether it's the bags of the 50,000 bags of dog food. I don't know if you have a pet, Mr. Young, or if you ever have, but going into those pet supply stores, those food, there are so many types of food. It's like, which one do you do? And so we talk about that with the kids, like, why are there so many varieties of food? What's going on? as well as, the aisle where there's dog toys and cat toys. And that always leads me into more of the entrepreneurial side of the house, which I really, really love as a veterinarian, because one of the things that kids really need to understand is that it's not only working in a clinic, small animal clinic, seeing cats and dogs, people coming in. There are probably about 20 different ways that we can become a veterinarian, from, yes, working in a small animal clinic, to working in the Army Veterinary Corps, like myself, to working as a public health veterinarian for the government, to hanging out your own shingle like I did and starting your own clinic. So the Future Veterinarian Project, yes, with COVID, I did shift it to more of the virtual side, which will of course allow more latitude across the country to more kids to be able to be involved. And I just had my first session on December 18th. It was great. The students that came in for that one were all from Michigan, but I am looking to expand that out. And since the last time I saw you, Mr. Young, I have decided to have one free session every month, an hour session, totally free every month, so that kids, any kid or big kid, because there are a lot of adults that are interested in veterinary medicine as well, can come and ask questions. I can answer anything about the field, and they can count on that every month starting in January. So I was looking at next Saturday for that first free session, and then of course we do have the more in-depth session, which is a paid session, and the students there will get 3 in-depth sessions with me and my team to really dig down deep into the courses that they need, the volunteer work that needs to happen, and as well as live animal demonstrations.
Outstanding. So tell us about the coloring book and how that actually came about.
Absolutely. What kind of veterinary doctor do you want to be? This came from that statistic that I mentioned earlier, to say that a field like this, where we know, Black folk, brown folk, we love our pets too. I think there's somewhat of a misnomer out there that Black folk don't like pets. They don't like animals. We don't like, we don't want to snuggle. We don't like those cuddles. Oh, come on. That couldn't be farther from the truth. So things like that, the statistics that show that, Black veterinarians make up, I would say less than 13%. They say, I think 13% of the country we make up. And we always use that percentage as kind of a parameter. And I think that our percentage within the veterinary industry might be less than that. So again, that's one of the impetus for me to create this coloring book that shows not only a Black veterinarian with locks, but also the different specialties of veterinary medicine. And as we move through, you see, it's not always going to be the same background for the veterinarian. You can come from different backgrounds and go into different specialties, whether you're working on the farm with pigs or whether you're in that surgical suite. This really is my brainchild and my baby. I worked hard to get it to be placed on Amazon as well, so it is listed on Amazon too. But I was super excited when I met you, Mr. Young, because I was like, whoa, wait a minute, you're mobile, plus you do books. You're just spreading that goodness everywhere you go. And so I really appreciate being connected with you as well. So yeah, I wanted to help to eradicate that statistic. I also wanted to be able to show the kids visually that there are veterinarians out there that are Black and brown, as well as the different specialties that they can go into, so that they don't fall into the trap of thinking that it's only working in a small animal clinic. No, you can be a military veterinarian like I am. You can be a veterinary educator where you teach kids about biology and anatomy and physiology and all of that. We're definitely not in a box, but the kids need to know. If no one tells them, then how will they know? Also, you know, a lot of times the teachers do not know. So when they're teaching career fields and everything like that to youth, especially in the elementary, but even in high school, a lot of times the teachers don't really know about all the different specialties. So therefore, they're not letting the kids know that there's anything other. The kids might be thinking, hey, I'm scared of snakes. I can't be a veterinarian. Oh, yes, you can. You know, they might be thinking, I am highly allergic to cats. I can't be a veterinarian. Oh, yes, you can, you know, because there are so many clinics out there that are specified only certain species. You don't have to see a cat hair, you know, you don't have to see a reptile. And so that was definitely my big goal for my what kind of veterinary doctor do you want to be coloring book.
So what's the most unusual pet and or animal that you've worked on?
Okay, well, I will say the kangaroo.
Oh, really?
Yes, excuse my dog.
That's quite okay. He's just saying he needs some attention as well. So I understand.
All part of it, right?
Yes.
Mayo. The kangaroo. I did have the opportunity to go
You
to
can show him if you
Australia.
want. That's fine.
Mayo, come here. Come here. Come here, Mayo. Come. Okay. Oh, sit. Okay. There's Mayo. Obviously, there's a FedEx or somebody is out front, so my apologies for that.
No
But
problem.
she's doing what she's supposed to do. So I'm sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
You were saying that the most unusual animal
The
that you worked
animal.
on was a kangaroo.
Yes, the kangaroo. I had the fine opportunity to go to Australia and New Zealand when I was a youngster. And this opened up the world for me. This is definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Future Veterinarian Project too as an adult, because of that opportunity that I had. It was a program called People to People Science Exchange, and it allowed students to go to various countries based on the type of science they wanted to go into. And so
Ah,
I was able to go to Australia and New Zealand, which was set up for marine mammal interest. And, you know, so we got to, like, we were on the bus, all these other students that we didn't know, we're just starting to get to know. And, you know, the bus driver stops and he says, everybody get off the bus. And we get off, and there's kangaroos everywhere, like dogs, you know, and they come up to us, they're friendly, you know, some with little joeys still in the pouch. And so that really, really made an impact on me to be able to see veterinarians at work, working with kangaroos. We also got to see a lot of seals and koalas while we were there. So I would say the kangaroo, though, is one of my favorites. It's a marsupial, you know, they take care of their young so well. And a lot of times, like I said, those babies will be in the pouch and the babies will be practically as big as the mom, still in the pouch.
as you know, oftentimes we are trailblazers. So in taking that trip, were you the only African American? Yeah.
I may have been. It was a little while ago, but I may have been, which the way I was raised and the opportunities that, you know, my parents gave me, that wasn't always so abnormal for me. Unfortunately, from the statistical side, fortunately for my ability to move around and still be successful no matter what room I walk into. But yes, I was definitely one of few Blacks, if not the only one on that trip. I would say one thing that I correlate that I'm thinking of right now is I was raised to be a swimmer. So I was on the swim team, you know, and that I was definitely one of the only brown bodies there in the water. And so again, those experiences allowed me to see the world as it is, not be threatened by it, and then to be able to become an adult that makes things happen and trailblaze like our ancestors did for us. You know, they always say, our ancestors. We are our ancestors', biggest dream come true. And I truly believe that about my family, the Crooms and the Grants and all of our ancestors looking down. It's so wild to think that we being here means that our ancestors did survive. We hear about all of the ones who did not survive and who sacrificed and everything. And we're here, and so we have to be trailblazers. And that's what I do in my field as much as
Well, I was fortunate to meet your inspirations, of course, in Grand Rapids. Had the opportunity of meeting Dr. Croom's parents, and her dad is a science teacher, and very knowledgeable and pleasant person to talk to. And I could see where you get your enthusiasm both from your dad as well as your mom.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're kind of like just two peas in a pod, very different. And I do feel like I got the best of both of them. Like you said, my dad, Mr. James Croom, he is very well known in the Grand Rapids area. He taught at Iroquois Middle School. Actually, they both taught at South Middle School when they first moved up to Grand Rapids from Knoxville College, where they met. And they came up, and so he taught science to middle schoolers. He would bring home, baby chameleons, baby chicks, all the things that he had used to teach his class. He brought everything home, and that stimulated my interest and really took me to where I am today. He did also want to be a veterinarian from the time he and my mom were in Knoxville, and then come to find out that it was a little more difficult being from out of state to come in. So he quote unquote settled, but we never say settled because there's so many kids that benefited from him being a science teacher and giving his all. He was one of those teachers that gives his all. And then my mother, Mrs. Gertrude Croom, she also is a trailblazer, not only in the civil rights movement, but in her teaching career in Grand Rapids. She taught at Grand Rapids Community College for over 30 years. She was more on the
Outstanding.
political science. Yeah, I know. She's amazing. She also taught anthropology, though, which also kind of got more into the natural sciences versus more the political science, which I wasn't as interested in. So they both, they both, made a power pack punch, which came out to Dr. Turnera Croom, as well as my other sisters too. Can't forget them.
Well, we're definitely welcome. We're glad to have you. Are there any barriers actually in becoming a veterinarian?
Barriers.
Whether financial or you're dealing with a lot of social injustice now in various communities. If any, how has that impacted you?
Yes, definitely when you think of veterinary medicine and being able to attend vet school, money is one of the first things that comes up. Finances, are there scholarships? Can I get a grant? Anything like that? That can be a serious barrier, which is why the Future Veterinarian Project really wants to start with kids young and letting them know the classes they need to really focus on and do well in so that they can get those scholarships, because there are scholarships out there. And I did receive a scholarship to, let me see, I think, was that undergrad to Xavier, or was that to Ski? I think it was to undergrad, but regardless, getting those classes together, making sure you're ready for those standardized tests, because that's a big potential barrier as well, which is like the GRE or the SAT or the ACT, depending on the school that you're interested in, they may have different requirements for which standardized tests. And we know from our history how those tests have been set up historically to leave some people out, just like tests have always done since the time we tried to start to vote, right? So this is my way to get in there and make sure kids are informed about the courses, the prerequisites, the volunteering, because not having any experiential things on your CV, your resume, would be a barrier as well. So even if you had, all A's and B's and then but you never volunteered at, say, a horse farm like I did when I was coming up, a horse farm that accommodated disabled kids and adults. I was a volunteer there as a youth. So talking about those kinds of things, volunteering at the SPCA, your local shelter, working at a vet clinic, even if you're down mucking out the stalls, right? We got to start somewhere. And most people, most kids who want to become a veterinarian, really, they just want to be around animals. And most of us are willing to do pretty much anything to be around them. So those barriers, financial, experiences that we need to have on our resumes, and standardized tests are all things that could potentially be barriers, but with the Future Vet project, I'm hoping to eliminate many of those.
Well, how do you see your business progressing in 2022?
2022 is about to be a doozy, okay? It is about to be a doozy. The virtual veterinary appointments, like I said, are taking off. It's going to allow me to expand further and further into Michigan. And one thing that I'm also creating is a veterinary technician
Ah,
program. So this is going to allow vet techs to work with me virtually. So just like when you walk into a vet clinic or even a doctor's office, right? Who do you see? You don't see the doctor first. You see the nurse, the PA, the vet tech, right? And they get the vitals, they ask the questions, and then what? The doctor comes in for what, 2 minutes? They come in, what's going on? Everything good? Everything good? And out to the next room. Now, my service is definitely much more hands-on than that, but by having a vet tech program, I can reach many more clients who can give my vet techs that starter information that I need to know to give them a great diagnosis or treatment plan. So the vet tech program is something I'm excited to expand upon. 2022 also will allow me to expand my brand of pet CBD. For those of you out there who are not familiar with CBD, it is a product that can help your dogs and cats and horses decrease their anxiety, decrease their pain if they've had surgery, or if they have joint pain, or if they have senior aches and pains. Look, I'm starting to feel some of those myself too, Mr. Young. The CBD, it's starting to be everywhere. And so one of the reasons that I came into the field and said, you know what, let me throw my hat in the ring and create my own brand of pet CBD is because so many people were asking questions and were unsure. Can I give my pet my human CBD? Or is this brand that I find at the gas station, is this okay for my pet? I don't know. What I do know is that the Dr. Croom Army Vet brand is one that I make personally. I manufacture myself, have it third-party tested, and now I have an ambassador program for my product. So I have ambassadors in several states now who are going to be, letting people know about the brand that's created directly by a holistic veterinarian and a Army veterinarian. So when you see my little logo with the Army truck and the dogs, you know that it's a Dr. Croom brand and it's high quality. So that's really exciting for me for 2022.
outstanding. So for those who are interested in the products, how would they contact you?
Absolutely. My clearinghouse for pretty much everything that I have is drcroom.com. That's just like it sounds, DRCROOM.com. And there you can find my CBD products for dogs, cats, and horses. You can find my coloring book, of course, as well as on Amazon and with Mr. Young at his Charles Young mobile bookstore, Black bookstore.
Yes, they can
And
actually reach us at Charles Collectibles and Books, better known as CC and A&D Books.com.
thank you, sir. I was like, oh, I need to give the exact link, got to give links these days. And yes, you can find everything at drcroom.com. And that's pretty much it. You can follow me as well on social media. On Facebook, Dr. Croom Army Vet, that's my business page, and that is one of the main places that you will see information about the Future Veterinarian Project when it comes up. So if you're interested in the Future Veterinarian project, definitely follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Croom Army Vet.
Are there any parting comments that you'd like to share with our audience?
Absolutely. I've got to take this opportunity to just say happy Kwanzaa to everyone out there. I am very excited and blessed to be a part of this veterinary field that allows me to be as entrepreneurial as I want to be while still helping pets. It's a wonderful field. If your kids are interested, bring them to me, and also if your kid is maybe a little shy, like I used to be, a little bit, not always in the front of the crowd, not always the first one to raise their hand, but they're very, very intelligent, dig in a little deeper to that, because that kid might just be the perfect person, that perfect veterinarian who has that empathy that you need to be a veterinarian, to work with people who are sometimes very worried about their pets, as well as the pets themselves who can't talk and tell us what exactly is the problem. So those kids that have that kind of empathic, intuitive sense, they might be perfect for this field. So come on, let's get them going.
Looking forward to it. Once again, we're going to show you the coloring book. And again, that's, what kind of veterinarian now do you want to be? And it's by Dr. Turnera Croom. And the illustrator is Charles Reed.
Yes.
So looking forward to working with you in the future again. Yes. And again, thank you very much for your service as a military vet, as well as a member of our community.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I have a lot to learn from you as well, and I look forward to our future collaborations. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Miss Alicia, as well.